Hello and welcome to my channel, and welcome back if you're coming back to see me. I'm Julie with Bookshelf by Julie. So today I'm working on my grandpa journal in the collaboration kit from Tanya at Tatty Treasures and Nanine at Collage Type. They made these papers. They're in their Etsy shop. Go check them out. If you like you know, the more masculine look or whatever, then this is all over it. Sometimes you got guys you got to make a journal for. This is perfect for that. It also kind of reminds me of the Victoria Designs one. A lot of people made like lap books with theirs, like a mystery book. I saw Mandy with Sunflowers and Doors using their kit's ginormous. But anyway, she used it to make a Sherlock Holmes lap book. Really cool. Anyways, that kind of reminds me of that kit. If you're looking for something that it would be similar to, that in my mind, I don't know if it would remind anybody else of that, but that's what it makes me think of. Anyways, this is the kit, the gentleman's kit. There's a couple of digital paper packs in Tanya's shop. There's a couple in Nanine's. So there you go. Okay, so I put this together. My my fabric across there. I'm trying to keep it more of a masculine look, but since my grandmother's going to enter the story, there might be a little bit of, you know, tiny bit of girly stuff maybe. Anyways, we'll see how it goes, won't we? Okay, so I did get the inside done. This is the sheets that were inside, and I folded this one down to make a big old pocket there. I thought I could put, you know, just slide in, I don't know, whatever I find that will go with this particular genealogy or whatever, right? Maybe I'll make me a little book with some family history if I find some cool stories back in the, you know, yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these. Now, this is not the only way to do this. I'm sure there are lots of other ways, but this is the me way to do this. I've got a lot of vertical sheets in this, and I made a few things to go along with it, because like I said, my grandmother's going to enter the story. And this is Stamperia, and I think it's the Vagabond. I had some leftovers, so I was using that for that. So anyways, I made a couple of sheets to go with this just because. Yep, he gets married. I had a grandmother too. So anyways, this is going to be me putting some things together, okay? These are the, like I said, there's a lot of vertical sheets, and I want to have one signature in here, and I'm going to have tall ones and tall ones that are half the sheet or something. I'll show you when I get to that. But right now I'm going to put these together, hopefully. This is 1 inch, scored in the middle, folded in half. Pretty simple. I did decal edge everything because I wanted it to look a little bit, I don't know, vintage. It looks vintage anyways, but I wanted it to look a little bit worn, like it had been there for a long time. If that makes sense, right? Okay, so I'm going to put, I've got 3 sets of papers to put together, and then we'll move on to our next place of putting the tall, narrow sheets in. Okay, let me get my first set of sheets to put together, right? Okay, let me see how I'm going to do this. Because I just want them to sit right down in there, not in my score, right? But just right on there. Okay. I'm living dangerously. I haven't tried my glue yet. I've just been trying to set up for this video. Woohoo! I should have at least opened it and see if it was going to work, right? Anyways. So these are my little bits of hinge, I guess. It's just folding paper. I don't get too weird about things like that. It's folding paper, right? So I've got my double-sided tape on there, and I'm just putting the glue on so that I can move this around if I need to. I usually need to. It just is what it is, you know. So this is going to go up just a little ways onto the paper. Not cover too much, but it'll be a good hinge for when I put the signature in, right? Okay. So I'm going to put this down and hopefully get me as straight as I can without getting into that fold. Yep. Yeah. This doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be put together, right? And not upside down, because that would be awkward. Okay. So I just have to keep myself straight. I may talk to myself a lot. Sorry. It is the way it is. I just don't want to mess up, because then I have to stop the video and delete this one, right? Oh my word. Okay. So, yep, just gonna do this. Get some glue on there so that I can move it if need be. Because there's always a need be. Yep. But I wanted it to look like it was really old, okay? Not just vintage. Antique. You know, like pieces of it had been ripped or, you know, just disintegrated with age. I don't know. Something like that. Right up to the fold, but not in it. Not in it. Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Now this works with whatever. I've used it lots of times when I'm just putting pages together, right? Excuse my reach. Gosh. And also, on purpose, this wasn't an oopsie. I didn't make the pages the exact same size. So, they're going to be a little bit different. And I'm okay with that. I wanted it to be, you know, just skew-whiffed a little, if that makes sense. I just want it to be like if it was put together 100 years ago, okay? So, here we go. Another set. Now the narrow, tall ones, I won't have to hinge those because they're, you know, they're just folded in half. Yeah. So that works. I just have 3 sets to hinge together because I wanted to have some bigger pages to put things on. Maybe some big policy envelopes, or I mean, and I just printed a background page over here just so that I would have places to put like the big policy envelopes or other elements to put this together. Okay, so now that we've done one, I'll tell you about my grandpa. Oh, is that upside down? Okay, just trying to make sure I'm straight. Okay, now I heard about, you know, I told you about the time when they tried to get him in school, and yeah, in the front door and run out the back. They couldn't keep him there. He just wasn't interested in school. And back in those days, you could be not interested in school and get away with it, right? You could. Back in the very, very, very early 1900s, you know. Excuse me. So, as I was doing my second bachelor's degree, it was in, the first one was in business. The second one was in my, I guess, what I really wanted to do, what I really love doing, is to teach. So it was learning, education, K-12, but majoring specifically in special education. So as I was going through that time of education myself, just got to make sure I'm not putting anything upside down. It made me think of my grandfather. We have times now when we still have, a hard time keeping special children in school. They're smart. They're beyond clever. Now, there are some kids that are just clever enough to, yeah, I'm bored, I don't want to do that. Well, that's okay. Do it anyways, you know. But there's some kids that are so smart till you give them something to do and they've already worked everything out in their head. They know exactly what it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to, even if they didn't write the answer down, they already know the answer. And not that they don't want to do the work. Why bother? You know, it's a moot point with them. So I think my grandfather was one of those. As I studied and learned, it made complete sense, because I never did understand. I always loved learning. I loved it, you know. And so, yeah, as I studied that, I understood, because in special education you learn both ends. The children who have a lot of difficulty in learning, and they can fall behind, and the children who are really high IQ and all that kind of jazz, that's the top of that one. They're all lumped into that, and you learn both ends of it. How to help those who fall a little behind, and how to challenge those who may be smarter than you are. So, you know, it was absolutely interesting. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Okay. Now, off of me. I wasn't bragging on myself. It's something I love doing. Okay, so as I look back at my grandfather and some of the things that he did, I go, yeah, I got you pegged, fella. I know exactly. He was never tested or anything like that. Back then, they didn't do that. He was really smart, though. He could work things out faster in his head than I could on a calculator. Oh, it used to blow my mind. Math was his friend. It's what he did. He could do any of it. I was like, oh my gosh. So, anyways, he used to play. Look, you couldn't beat him at checkers. He already had the whole game figured out before you ever made a move. That's just was that. You couldn't beat him. Okay. Turn it this way. I'm trying to not get upside down. I have to growl at myself. Take it apart. Things like that. Okay. So, he used to play pool. Well, what is pool? That's a lot of geometry and different things. You know, figuring out all those angles and stuff. He played pool because as a farmer, he didn't make as much money as he'd like to. But he brought home a lot of money playing pool for quite a while, till nobody would play with him anymore. because nobody could ever beat him. Even professional pool sharks would come in thinking they, oh, I'm going to do this, you know. Nope, didn't beat him. So, like I said, he was one of those special people who fell through the cracks. No telling what he could have done if somebody could have found a way to get an education in that fella, right? Then he didn't have anybody to play pool with anymore. So that was kind of sad. Because, you know, yeah. Okay. Now that's our three sets of pages put together, right? Okay. I remember when I was a kid, he was, even though he wasn't a farmer anymore, he still loved to garden. And I loved learning from him. Like I said, I always loved to learn. But if you're going to help him garden, whew, that's a lot of work. That fella would not leave one rock in anything he was going to. If that piece of ground had rocks in it, you were going to be out there all day for several days. Getting rid of the rocks, okay? Because that is the way he was. All right, let's put these, no rocks in his garden. Okay, now I have these, like I said, these are these pages, okay? And I just printed that book page background on the back of them. And I want to, let's see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to fold that the other way, 5, 6, okay, I've got 7 here. So, ooh, that's really dark. Okay. Does that go a certain way? I think so. Okay, so it's going to have to be this way. Okay. I got to make sure I got them all up the right way. Okay. All right. So I've got these 3 sets of big ones. Okay. And I'm going to put these in, I'm going to make a signature. Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here, there. I think I've got enough to do, if I do 2, I'm going to try it this way. Because I'm not my grandfather. I don't do math in my head that well. It's a thing. He was good at it. I'm not. Is that the one I wanted next? Maybe that's the one I wanted next. Okay. But yeah, he was quite incredible. Okay. As I said, my grandmother was going to enter that story. As a young man, my grandfather saw this girl at church. Back then they had these, what they call all-day singing and dinner on the ground. I don't know. Anyways, they had a big thing where they'd have food and all kinds of potluck food and have singing and preaching and all that stuff, you know. Anyways, that was a thing back then. And they did, I'll put this one in here. They met there at church. And, excuse me. So, that one in there. And that one in there. And, oops, sorry. I'm getting a little wild of my, that one's in there. Okay, that's what I'm doing with it. Okay. So, yeah, I wanted those in there like so. I was thinking about putting one out here, but then I think it would be all right. Wait a minute. Let me see. if I put one out here, because it's really not going to cover. I mean, it'll cover, but no more than any other page. I mean, you know, and then you go cover that, do that, and then you've got these ones in here and in here, and then that one, and then this one and this one, then that one, then that one, and that one. Then you go to the back and you have that one. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, they met at church. They liked each other. My grandmother said that when she saw him, she knew he was hers. He was her fella. Never did she doubt. He didn't say anything about that. He was a handsome young fella, but she was a pretty young girl. So, anyways, she was 16, and I think he was 19 or 20. He was still a young fella, and he liked her and she liked him. Then they started writing. Of course, he didn't write. He had somebody else write the letters for him. But he'd tell him what to say. And so they started writing to each other. And he found out that she was in a pretty sad situation. And she really was. Her father was very abusive. They wrote back and forth. I wish I could have gotten my hands on those letters. Wouldn't that have been awesome? But they didn't have them. I don't know what happened to them. Anyways. My grandmother could tell you what was in each one of them. Anyways, the thing deteriorated, okay? Abusive father. She had a stepmother that wasn't too bad, but she was just trying to protect her own children as things deteriorated, you know? So, yeah. Alright, so let me see how that's going to sit in here. Not there, here. Oh, I think it'll be fine once we get the clips out. Yep. Okay. So I want that to just sit right down in there, into that spine, hopefully. Yep. And I had to chop some off the edges on both sides because this book's a little bit shorter than, I'm not showing you anything, am I? This book's a little bit shorter than the book page length, okay? So, yeah. I had to chop some off here and there and everywhere. I don't know if my doohickey's going to work for this. It is not. So, I'm going to pause and do this off camera because, yep. And then I'll tell you about what happened with when he met my grandmother, and then they, you know, I'll tell you that in a minute. Hold on a sec. Okay, I'm back. So, I got these in. Oh yeah, I'd left you at a precarious place for my grandparents. So she was 16, not old enough to tell herself she could get married, but her father had decided she was going to get married to a fella she didn't want to get married to because it would have been beneficial to him to get some property that he wanted. He was not a sharecropper. He was an actual landowner farmer. And because he could treat his wife and or children any which way he wanted because he was the man, right? So, yeah, it wasn't good. So, yeah, he was going to marry his daughter off for a land deal that he wanted, you know, and she didn't want to marry the guy. She wanted to marry my grandfather. And I'm glad she was spunky and, ooh, that would have been bad. I got a needle in there. I'm glad she was spunky and a bit rebellious against that because whew, it could have been a whole different set of grandparents there. I like my grandpa. Okay, so I've got all my pages in there. And you have to work with pages when you put them in. This is a little bit, you know, but they just got in and it fits right in that that spine area. So, I mean, it's got room. It's just needing to settle in, right? And it'll be fine. So, some of these pockets, I might do pockets. Some of these pages, okay, some of these pages I might do a bit of sticking down and making a pocket. I don't know yet. I've got some more planning to do about that, and then we'll see. But these are going to be great ones to put pockets on and add little bits of memorabilia and different, you know, things in there about my grandfather and or my grandmother. You know, grandfather's what I'm focusing on because it's a gentleman's kit, right? So now we've got our signature in. We've got this book put together. Fabric on the spine, pages there. This was the inside pages of the book that I took apart, took the book block out of. And so that's a really good, boy, is that stiff. So, and then that pocket is like super duper 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 strong. All these pages to work with now. So I've got lots of elements in the kit to embellish with now. The clock pieces and stuff. Oh yeah, I gotta tell you what happened to my grandparents. Okay, so he was gonna marry her off, right? And she didn't wanna, and I don't blame her. You know, who wants to marry somebody you don't want to marry, right? So and my grandfather found out about it, and so he had his cousin, who was writing the letters for him, send her a letter saying, be at this place at this time on this day, and you won't have to worry about that anymore. So she got the letter, and she was at that place at that time on that day. And he just pulled up in his car. She got in with her little, you know, little bit of what she had. She didn't have much. A little bit of clothes, she said. Not much else. And they took off. She was going to marry that man. So, her father heard about it. It reminds me of that old song. And I go, did they write that about my grandparents? There was an old song a while back. Well, years and years ago now. Anyways. So she was there and she took off with my grandpa. Her father found out. And look, it had been raining a lot, she said. And when it rains on dirt roads, you know what that happens is, you know, mud, right? So my grandfather was young and adventurous and in love. So he was going as fast as he could go. And her father, my great-grandfather, he found out and he started chasing them in his car. He was getting close. She said he had a better car, you know. Anyways, there was a big wide turn, a bend in the road, and she said it was, you know, really kind of steep. And they almost ran off the road. My grandfather took that curve really fast. And they almost, she said the car was just flipping and flopping and all that. So they just took it real fast and kept going. Well, I think my great-grandfather, her father, tried to do that too, but his car was better and it was heavier. And it just went right off the road and got stuck in the mud and wouldn't get out. And they didn't go back to help him either. They just kept going. She said she heard something behind her and she looked back there and she saw his car in the mud, stuck, and he couldn't get out. And what she heard was not the engine revving, it was a large group of profanities. So she just looked at my grandfather and smiled, and they went on. They, didn't even worry about it. They figured somebody'd come along with a tractor in a little bit and pull him out. And that's probably what happened. It was farm country. So anyhow, so that was the beginning of their life together. And when my grandmother told me she got married when she was 16, she had to say she was 18 to get married. So I didn't say this to her because, you don't say things like that to people. You weren't legally married, Mama. You were. But anyways, they were. I guess it turned out all right in the end because she didn't have a birth certificate. She was born at home, and back then they didn't always keep a record of everything that happened. And so they used her marriage certificate date, her marriage license, as her date of she was 18 at that time. That made her 2 years older than she actually was. But anyways, back in those days, things like that happened. And, I was glad she got away and they got away and they went on and lived their lives. And she said her father wouldn't talk to her for 3 years. And she was okay with that. So anyways, that was my grandpa's story for this one. I think he was a highly intelligent person, maybe a little bit on the high Asperger's, the spectrum of autism, but he was really incredibly smart, did not like school, and he had an adventuresome spirit. He was going to rescue that girl. He was a hero. And he always lived his life that way. He did what was right. He loved my grandmother, and she loved him. They stayed married. All those years, 50-something years, till he passed away. So, it was a real love story. I'll tell you some more next time. Okay. Thanks for joining in with all my... I had to put the signature in twice, by the way. Yeah, it was... I don't even want to explain that. But it goes in better the second time. There you go. So, you guys take care. Have some fun. And remember our family stories, our family histories. That's so fun to do. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. TTFN.